Let's get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paramount Plus. This is strokes of genius, beautiful games, and one shining moment. This is Defenders, Investigators, and
Seven strangers taking over a house.
This is Young SpongeBob, Young Sheldon, and Younger. This is everything you've been looking for.
That's gonna leave a mark.
Live sports, breaking news, and a mountain of entertainment.
All right.
This is Paramount Plus, now streaming. And a mountain of entertainment. This is Paramount Plus, now streaming.
Why is streaming options not working?
Okay, I've had enough of the music. Let's start Rigged. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Rigged for the season 6 season. well, whatever. I am I am Chicken Sandwich. With me is Fizek
Hello, hello.
and also Squared.
Hello, everyone.
Let me know if you can hear everyone. It's been a while since I've streamed, so I could screw this up somehow. All right, can the box scores be displayed on the stream since we already took screenshots? I don't have them saved locally, but I might be able to figure out a way to do that and just like have them scroll maybe going forward. I can into that, Aggie. But we want to get into it just right away.
Yeah, do I want to go ahead and start with the Majors Camp update announcement?
The announcement, yeah, go for it.
So everyone's here, and this will be posted in the main chat as well, so everyone knows. So Elder brought up the point, as others as well, is that the idea of major camps, and so here is what the standard is going to be going forward, and this will be posted in the SSBL Discord tomorrow. And as well as it'll be reflected in the rulebook. We are going to be updating the rulebook. Hasn't been updated in 3 seasons, so it could use a little bit of updating considering even minors aren't in it. But you will have 2 camps to work with for the majors, as you said previously. One is going to be worth 20. The other is going to be worth 10. Now, that's also halved if they are season 3 and older. There is no more bench warmer requirement. There's no more, they can only start a certain number of games. Instead, the 2 requirements in order for them to get the points is that they must be on the majors roster for 10 games. So you can't use it on someone in the minors. They have to be on that majors roster for 10 games, whether or not they're starting or they're sitting. And they must be a position player below 350 points or a pitcher below 200 pitching points. And so those will specifically be put into the chat to go. But basically the difference now is that the focus of majors camps was always to be to build up players who are sort of on the lower end of the spectrum and to give them an opportunity to get more points. So these changes no longer penalize you for starting someone who's already going to be starting, and as well by making it a 350 point total for position and 200 point total for pitching. It also makes it so that it's not going to like the big McLarge Hughes of the world, right? It's going to the players that actually matter. And so seeing this question in the chat, and they cannot have received minors points, correct? Yes, inherently they won't have received minors points because if you remember, in order to get minors points, you have to spend at least half of the season, either the front half or the back half, in minors in order to get those points. So because you have to be on the majors roster for at least 10 regular season games, you're not going to be even eligible to get minors points for those players anyways. So they cannot receive minors points, but also there's not going to be a worry about overflow because they're not going to be eligible for minors points anyways if they get majors points. And the ability to boot a weakish player. So that's what's going to be going forward. Again, a lot of these rules are going to be updated in the rule book. We hope to get that out in the next couple of weeks as it's updated with all the minors information, like everything that's happened in the past 3 seasons. The rulebook hasn't even been updated since I joined the league, so it's definitely due. But that is going forward. Minors points are going to be available week 5 of the minors, which is week 6, which is basically the start of week 7, is when those are going to be available.
So had we announced that, like the minors is going to stagger, even though we've gone to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then weekend for minors, we're still having this first week. It's going to be just majors, and then majors minors going second week.
Yes, and that's to synchronize. Well, one is to synchronize for stat progression, which we probably won't talk about tonight, but stat progression is obviously up in the air in terms of exactly. But as of right now, we will still have stats progression for the middle of the season. And the best way to do that to make sure that we don't have a bunch of overflow with other stuff is to make the middle of the minor season happen at the same time as the middle of the major season, which means that start of week 8 end of week 7, start of week 8 for regular season is when the minors will have gone through. So minors aren't going to be starting until week 3, I think. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, minors won't start until week 7. Or sorry, the minors won't start till week 3. Minors won't start till week 3. But that's all of that information. I know I've been babbling on for a little bit, but that is the big news.
All right. With that being said, let's just start talking about some of these games. I'll just kind of pull this up over here. So we have Alpha smoking Beta in this first game, 16-4. We had some big highlights from Samir Tailwind, hitting 2 home runs, 6 RBIs in this game. The offense was really good for Alpha in this one. And I had a couple people talk to me about this next period of FA, and I guess I didn't realize it. This next window of FA is a free for all. It doesn't go by it doesn't go in order like the last one did.
Well, then how do they determine if 2 people want the same person?
Like it goes to like the earliest, but like either the earliest or 2 people hit at 12 o'clock. That was what the question was. Like, how do we?
I mean, I think it goes to draft order, and like it goes to like time. I think here's what I think we should do. There should be like a by 8, probably like maybe like by 8 a.m. Central. Then on Sunday is when you have to submit your free agency acquisition. That way, it's like to give everyone the same amount of time, starting at the same time, to make sure that like you have like there's a buffer period. And I think it should go by your draft order in terms of if it's the same person. Because otherwise, then how do you determine a tiebreaker, you know? Yeah, and as Elder is saying, that screws everyone can be up in May. So I think maybe we should set like a time of like 11 a.m. And to make it, the thing Pandora is like by doing it by wheel, the issue is that like, okay, well, when do we do the wheel? Because at that point, other people will have taken other players off of the board. And so I think you should list like this is good. So I think maybe what we should do is like there's like an 11 a.m. submittal time on by Sunday. Like it'll open at midnight on Sunday, but you have until 11 a.m. Central to put in your order of the players that you want to get, and then it'll go by draft order for everybody who got it into that window. Do you guys think that? Do you guys agree? Do you think that makes sense?
That makes sense. And then after the first wave is done, then it becomes a free for all. But you have until that 11 p.m. cutoff to basically it's still a waiver order, but after midnight hits on Saturday and it flips to Sunday, yes, it becomes a free for all.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this all down in the league office chat. So if y'all want to banter for a little bit about it, that way I can put it down so we don't forget it.
That's something we'll need to talk about. We'll iron that out.
So yeah, Samir Tailwind pretty much went from possibly not being just not being on a team to probably gonna be one of the first ones taken.
The fact that he hit 2 home runs in that game, and then again, the stat progression wasn't even applied to him. And then the next game, he still hit another home run. Like, I know it was against crap pitching in the free agency, but still, like, that was ridiculous.
I mean, who was even the second best player from free agency? I guess
If you look at the free agent pool, it's like ordered. It's like Spray Lobster is a 354 overall.
So 6 for. This is all of it. Okay, yeah, 3. So Rossi 4 for 9, 5 or 10 Spray Lobster. Who was the best on Beta? 1 hit, 2 hits.
Minor champs.
Minor chance, or I think Penelope Garcia 5 for 8. Got a solid 8 all around. Home run, 4 RBIs. Pitching, we can't pass that. The Rising's coming in. Feels Goodman, solid performance, gets 20 points there in progression. Watsky with a solid 8 there. I think that's pretty much all that we can probably surmise from uh, free agent games. What else do you guys say?
I mean, if we just want to real quickly look at free agency game 2, just while we're talking about free agency, just go ahead and talk about the other performances from it.
It's not in steps.
Yeah, it is. It's you have to scroll down because it was the start of day 3. So scroll up. It's definitely there because I have it pulled up right now. It was the first game of day 3. So if you, yeah, it's right
Oh,
there.
I had scrolled.
So Cam Iconic, only 1 earned run for Alpha. Jorge
Yeah.
Watsky didn't look bad, and then in terms of like players hit well, Tailwind again hit well, and then actually for Beta, Penelope Garcia was 4 for 5, so she got some decent amount of points from that.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see this line from Iconic, given that he is like single-digit junk. Um, but yeah, and then Watsky giving up 2 earned through 5, 3 hits, 2 walks, a homer, strikeout. I mean, pretty decent. Unfortunately, we get to see everyone, but I feel like we saw a good amount of people. So now let's talk about some of these games. So I guess first game was Angels. First game, really? Angels Vikings? Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit surprised about this game. I thought the people who the Angels brought up, who they had sitting in their minors, would have been a little bit higher caliber than what the Vikings would have rolled out. Um, but the Vikings went in a very Vikings fashion, a low scoring game. Pitching kind of took over for them and kept them in it, and the offense did literally just enough to win the game for them.
Yeah, pretty much. Vikings. I mean, this season they're gonna live or die on their pitching. We'll get into that when we go into predictions, but they're gonna live or die on their pitching. Pretty much how I think the Vikings are operate. If their pitching allows more than 4 or 5 runs, it's over. Because I think on average you're probably gonna get 3 or 4 runs out of this offense. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, I mean, like if you look at that Vikings lineup that they put out, like it's not that far off from what they're gonna have in the season. Like it's pretty much like a lot of the key competitors there. And I mean, Callie Hatmore had a really good game. And it's just like playing at Shaka as well. I think it's surprising that the Vikings only had 6 hits given the power and contact that they have, and they're in Shaka.
Yeah, but
But
they're
again, like
also
this
going
game is
against
so
Jin
RNG.
Fury.
Yeah. So that is true too. But also, like Shaka is a hitter's ballpark. So
What?
I mean, with as much free space as there in it, it's like doubles for days.
I think that makes it more of a pitcher's park because it's not going out.
Well, I mean, it's a pitcher's park in that there's not as many home runs, but also like I think it's just the amount of space that balls can get through.
I honestly think the Vikings. I think I said this last year, and I think I'll say it again. I think the Vikings probably have the best pitching staff in. I just think it's solid. Like
I think
Halladay-
now. Sorry, go on.
I think Halliday, she'll consistently get you 6, 7 innings, only giving up 1 earned. I mean, granted, this was a little bit of a depleted Angels lineup for spring training, but I mean, that's still a solid line. Joe Butt's coming in here and being pretty clean. Like, that's just what he does as well. Like, the Vikings are just a really solid pitching team, and that's what they've built this team. This team has been built around.
I think now, yes, because now Burt Barnstormer is a bona fide ace. Minshew kinda got it together a little bit. I mean, he was still shaky, but he had a couple great starts. Holiday's pretty much an ace on any other team. And then you have Butts, and I think they have a. Don't they also have another good? I think
Here
they
are
have
their
another
pitcher
good-
ratings. Here are their pitcher ratings right now. 223, 261, 260, 212, 191, 209, 159, 224.
Yeah, every
That's
almost every.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that overall they have probably the best pitching staff. It's just their bats besides Hatmore, Marshall, McMaster. It's lackluster. And
Yeah.
I remember Whitney was shocked at the fact that they didn't get a shortstop at all and are sticking with Dale Stewart. I remember him talking about that during the draft, and I was shocked as well because Dale Stewart, he's a great fielder, but on the offensive side, not really giving you much.
I mean, he's also getting old. I think he might have been a season 1 player if I remember correct.
He is a season 1.
So he was already on borrowed time, and even more so now.
It'll be interesting to see how this pitching staff goes against like offensive juggernauts like Dragons and Moonshots in the heroic.
Mm-hmm. Some unpleasant conversation here now for Squared as we go into Wrong Fielders Stingers game.
It's fine. They decided to show up in the 9th inning. It's
Was
fine.
this the only game that went into extra inning?
Yes. I really
Yeah,
do.
think
I
so.
really do think Specialist kind of did it. I was very happy with Del Vecchio. She looked absolutely amazing. 7 2/3, 1 run, 3 strikeouts, 6 hits. She was absolutely amazing. It's just Lawrence was actually pitched really well as well. So it was a good game all around. I mean, you saw there too, like started scoring runs after the Specialist came out, but pretty much Botley, Kennedy, and this also were still doing well. It's just the rest of the lineup started to catch up. So
I mean,
it's a loss, but whatever.
This was a pitcher's duel. I mean, because DeVecchio, honestly, like went blow for blow, and honestly did better. Like she didn't walk nearly as many people. The 7 walks from Learns really kind of blemishes that line a lot.
Just need to convert. When 7 walks and you only get 1 run against her. You just need to convert that. Like it could be hey, 1 hit didn't go our way, or hey, maybe a single here and there might have changed the game a little bit, but I'm okay. I just want to talk about how absolutely disgust or ridiculous it is when DeVecchio has both composed and K-Man.
Oh my gosh, it is.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, dude!
I was looking at it. It was a 3-2 count, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me! That's how much of a boost she gets."
Talk about a clutch pitcher. Like I know, like she's got the stats as a starter. Can you imagine her as a long reliever having both composed and K? Oh my god!
Now I'm thinking because maybe when she finally comes up, maybe I could keep Ryan in a rotation and just throw her as a long reliever.
So
or vice versa.
That's the type of player you want in your bullpen to come in when the AI keeps your main pitchers in for too long. Like when the first pitcher that you have coming up, anytime a relief pitcher comes in, because usually when a relief pitcher is coming in, there's a chance that they're coming into a sticky situation. Coming in with a pitcher who the second you get to 2 strikes gets a bonus, and then also when they have a 3-0 count, or the second they get to 3 balls, having that too. Whew. Dude, look. And the other thing,
you're right. Yes. You're right. Yes, it's risky, but she's still a good pitcher without it. Maybe
it just makes her even more clutch. The one thing I do want to talk about for the Wrong Fielders, because I know Laser said made it in time for everyone to destroy the Wrong Fielders. It's a good win for the Wrong Fielders. Like let's be honest, it's going to be an interesting season for them. I don't want to say that they're not going to do well, because they can always. We've seen teams that who are supposed to perform who don't perform, and vice versa. They have 2 pitchers over 200, and that's Hank Murphy and Pete Nocio. From there, it goes to the 180s, 170s, and then all the way down to like the 140s. And They currently have in their pitching rotation right now 144, 113, 125, 141, 131, 179. And Lasers, if you're still in the chat, you need to send up 2 more pitchers to your main roster. Because currently there are 2 Risens in the pitching.
I think it's time for Hank Murphy. But yes, we do not allow Risens in the majors. But no, good showing from the wrong fielders. Pitching pretty much won them the game. Came on late, but I was happy with DeVecchio, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean it's hard not to be happy with. I mean when you're going almost 8 innings and have only given up 1, I mean it's hard to complain like really at all. Like it's just like what you're saying, you got the 7 walks and just need to convert from there. It's just like as soon as you got the walk, it felt like composed, took it back out with like a double play or something. It's just
And like on the other side, 7 walks, like I said, 1 single here or there, maybe, brought in 2 or changed the games a little bit. It's just, bad luck. It happens.
Right. Serpents, Lumberjacks.
Is Dean in the chat?
I haven't seen him. I think he said he already goes to bed because he's on the other time, so it's 11:04.
Well, as Dean pointed out, only team to score double digits in spring training. Did it by the bare minimum of once double digits, but double digits nonetheless.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little worried about the Lumberjacks this year. I'll go more into it when we get to the predictions and just talking about the teams and preseason. I'm a little bit worried though.
It was
kind of a bit worried.
Surprising to see Lucio Ball that like this is the Lucio Ball I was used to for his first 3 years of his career. Since he's been with the Lumberjack, he's been great. Like he had the best season of his career last season, and this is a return to form for him. With a third of an inning and getting counted for 5 earned against him.
Yeah, and Whitney pointed out to me earlier in the day, but Queen Khan had the worst start of all the rookies. Gave up a couple runs, 5 runs. Wasadu actually pitched pretty well on the Lumberjack side. Just Lucio Ball became Lucio Ball, but the bullpen for the Serpents held it down.
Pandora's bringing up a really good point. Everyone got better with picks. Jax didn't even have a pick. Jax only have.
You're assuming that the Angels had got better with the picks.
What? You telling me Ruby Green Dexteras isn't the pick of the draft? but the
Kappa.
Pandora brings up a really good point because we are now in season 2 of minors, right? The Lumberjacks have 3 players in their minors right now.
Robot, hold on to that question. We will get to that.
Yeah, hang on to that, Magic Robot. We'll talk about that during predictions. And here's the thing: Lumberjacks have got really good pitching. They've got 5 pitchers over 200, and their other pitchers are 183, 187, 196. So they've got really good, really decent pitching.
Wait, can you switch over to the batting stats if you do not mind, sir?
So they've got like Lucio Ball is still a 204 pitcher. And how often is that legitimately going to happen? But I think maybe what especially what you're talking about, it's the depth in hitting. And I don't know if that depth in hitting is there.
Yeah, because Speedy's great. Phil Barco, I don't know. He hasn't really been Phil Barco ever since that Super Series. Sorry, Whitney. Callan, so Tank Tygo. I would you guys agree? Kind of a disappointing season.
Yeah, and Callan's absolutely disappearing last season. I don't.
I mean, they made it to the heroic conference finals before they got. Did they get swept by the Retrievers?
Yes, the Retrievers didn't lose. The Retrievers did not lose until the Super Series. But it always felt like with the Lumberjacks, even though, yes, and this is going to be ironic because their thing is keep chomping. It was always a grind for them. It was never easy. It was always a grind. It was always, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. That's not a complaint. It was always a grind. The games were never easy for them. A couple in the playoffs, but yeah, it was always a grind. And I'm kind of worried, 3rd season, basically the same squad, a lot of guys from that Super Series winning team, and it's just I'm not really seeing, like you mentioned, Isaac, just not a lot of depth there. Like, what if someone gets injured, or someone like Strangelove or DDC not really playing up to their potential? You don't really have a lot of wiggle room for changes there.
Yeah, I've got some more thoughts on Lumberjacks, but I'll save them from when we talk about
But
predictions.
on the other side, Serpents look pretty good. Pizza looks like a pretty good pick for them. Yeti Olsen, the person I'm watching for is Yeti Olsen. I'm looking for him to finally. I feel like everybody's been waiting for Yeti Olsen to be that premier player ever since season 4. So I'm just waiting for Yeti Olsen to finally break out and be one of those premier players in the league. But pretty good showing for the Serpents nonetheless. Bullpen is probably very promising, as that was one of the big problems for the Serpents last year or season.
Lowest pitcher they have in their rotation is 192, and that's Naofumi. And then the lowest pitcher that they have in their bullpen is Strongman at basically 200. So
Yeah, but
they're looking real
we
solid.
need to look out for Green. Green did not make a nice transition to S&B 3. He has really struggled in this game for whatever reason. That's going to be a big key to the Serpent's success.
And another key, and I probably should save this for the preseason, the predictions, but can you expect Veranda Wall to really do what she did last year again? That's one of my big questions.
Yeah, that's fair. So going into day 2, the night. I mean, both these teams look good. This was a pretty tight game. Unfortunately, we did have the Knights
minor league squad.
The starting pitcher go out. Jake Carter was going pretty well and got hurt at 4th inning. They only giving up 1 hit.
Pandora, I will talk about that when we get to the predictions. I will talk about. Actually, that was one of my talking. Sorry, Whitney.
Save it.
That was one of my big talking points for the Epic side, and we'll get to it.
And then Austin Floston, like one of the later pitchers taken, like he was late 2nd round, going 6 1/3, only 2 earned, 2 walks, 4 Ks, 6 hits against what is honestly, if you take a look at it, what is probably a fairly full strength Knights roster. Like
for the most part.
Honestly, it feels good, man. Like Donut is in the chat. Like the fact that he was able to get his player too. Like I remember he was so excited to be able to get. Like I've always kind of liked the high rollers ever since like I joined the league. I thought they really liked the way like Donut structures like the lineup and everything. But the fact that he was able to get his own pitcher too, he was just so excited to have him and to see him do well as well in a spring training game. He is going to be down in the minors this season, but he's definitely going to be a future of that high rollers going forward.
Yeah, it was both squads pretty much not 100% full strength, but yeah, I would agree Knights probably more full strength, but high rollers, Flouston very impressive against a mostly full strength Knights team. Piston Omen had that solo shot. Freishack looked good but you need to give that arm up, buddy. Max Range doing Max Range things, and Blind Ollie with that 3-run shot. But yeah, it was
that was the game winner, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a game winner. You always forget. I think everybody forgets about Blind Ollie on the high rollers because I don't think he ever saw the majors last year.
Yeah, he was down last year. He wasn't in the.
Yes, so I think that just boosts their lineup even more, and I'll go more in depth with the high rollers later on.
All right, I have to swallow my pill now. I have never seen base running as constantly bad in a single game as it was for the Bombers in this game. We lost at least 3 runs in that game to base running errors. We lost 1 in the 1st inning when, on the pass ball, Mae Bruce ran home when the ball went like 3 feet away from the catcher, and she's like, oh, crap, and got caught. And then Pablo got caught, and I think it was Lexi Luther who got caught. And just so frustratingly dumb. In a game we really should have easily.
Yeah, but I mean, pat yourself on the back. This is the full strength, besides Makia Stare. This is the full strength overdrafts. Face against Nero Bamber.
Yeah, ironically, Nero Bammer did the worst out of all the overdrafts pitchers.
But yeah, like Liam Freishak did all right for the most part. Mahomie had struggled out of the bullpen. Just overdrafts that bullpen. It was the difference.
Quick correction for you: Lucy Freishak for the Bombers. Liam is third
Liam's
baseman.
the third baseman
for the High Rollers.
Yeah, but I would pat yourself on the back, Whitney. It was good. It was a good showing. Hamish Rifleman stole like 3 bases
he stole
this game.
3 bases. That was amazing. I wish we were tracking that just for that alone.
But I just want to say, like, can I have KDC? Because I've always liked KDC, and she had 4 RBIs in this game, I think. And I'm like, can I just have her because she'd be perfect? Like,
that was the one thing. Like, whenever they get hit, it felt like it was always into that like right center field gap. It was just so frustrating. It over irons his head at check. Yeah, but Mahomie struggled. I feel like he probably needs another pitch. He's only got 3. Leverage giving up the game-winning home run kind of sucks, but not going to be a starter this year. So hopefully, the damage could be little from him. The biggest surprise for me was Alyssa Sass knocking it 2 out of the park. I'm not sure she had 2 home runs in the minors last season.
She got some very good progression points.
She got triple eights, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she got very, very good updates with it. So she's definitely, I mean, instantly has turned into going to be a very solid option. No longer really a worry hitting wise.
Oh, yeah.
So that's gotta feel good if you're especially we'll talk about predictions and heroic, but especially with Retrievers and Moonshots in your division, like.
That's
is Sass sorry, Sass is with you, the Bombers.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like, but still, like Wildcats, High Rollers, like some of those are gonna be real gunfights.
Mm-hmm.
And so
oh yeah, totally.
It'll be good to have that.
I was stunned at this next game. Just the Dragons just absolutely taking it to the Wildcats, especially after watching all the sims that Aggie put on. It was always the opposite, so I was just ready for this.
Hold on.
I'm convinced at this point Aggie was rigging the entire thing.
Hold on. You know what's hilarious is that Aggie was doing streams in the before we started here tonight, and he did another stream, and the Wildcats won that one like 10-5.
I'm convinced that Aggie rigged all of his streams.
Aggie is saying that his lineup is reversed. So like, and another thing about Aggie is that his players, my players are kind of fast, but not very fast, and whoever he has behind the plate is just cannon arm, just absolute cannon arm.
Bailey
and
Curtis.
Like that's every single time we would sim, and even watching the game, like it was the base running that would kill me in those games.
Smith.
Bailey Smith, like
Aggie, I don't care for you excuses.
So no, it's good, especially for the Dragons. I feel like a lot of the moves that we've made have been to bolster that offensive side. Like, I mean, if you look at that lineup, I think one thing to keep in mind is that when I first not took over, because I'm still technically an assistant manager, but Steven Diaz was a leadoff hitter when I first got here, and now he is batting at the bottom of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not because he's bad; it's because that's literally how much talent has come in hitting wise. So it's just a matter of translating that into legitimate regular season success. But it was nice to see the bats actually come alive.
Quick question: is Bailey Smith the best arm in the league? Not just catcher. Does she have the best arm rating in the league? I'd be curious because she's at like 96?
97. So
I bet she's probably I mean, she's almost maxed out. She's too short. So I feel like
also,
she almost has to be.
Talk about upgrades. Think about upgrading from Jillian Sorelli to Bailey Smith.
I mean,
So like
yeah.
Sorelli wasn't bad. Sorelli was 73.92, and then Smith is 85.97, and then also Bailey Smith can actually legitimately hit.
Yeah, without like striking out. Oh, Warden Campbell's 99. Okay, well, that was short lived. And okay, like this night was just full of surprises, and then we go to Cade 6 out
Oh my
dueling the
god.
#1 overall draft pick. I mean,
Over 24 points of stats progression.
wow. I mean, don't get me
Absolute
wrong.
monster.
Like, Mabel Sparks did pretty well. The 10 hits are a little high, but I remember watching a little bit of that game. Defense didn't really help her out a lot. Like, there were some plays that, like, a couple of better fielders could have made or whatever, but, spring training and whatnot, you're getting these players in and trying to make them better. But, I mean, just 9 strikeouts is just insane.
And I mean, nearly went 8 innings as well. Like pitching into the 8th inning. Now, this is the part where we say Elder is no longer in the chat. But if you watch this the next day, it was the Unicorns. So we got to keep that in mind in terms of the bats that they're facing. But still, and against any team in this league, to go, even if it's rookies, to go almost 8 innings and strike out 9, even with the batting that the Unicorns have, that's still a ridiculous performance.
And it's not exactly like it's the worst. I mean, they had Jose Odor over there. They had a bunch of their picks that are decent bats, I would say. I mean, if I remember correctly, Ura Irons is from their minors that has like 90 something power, but like 20 contact or something. He had a third of the strikeouts himself. So, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. But I mean, I wouldn't. I agree to both sides of this. Like, okay, young Unicorns players, but I also don't want to take anything away from Cade 6 because I mean 9 strikeouts is 9 strikeouts.
Just absolutely in the zone.
Right, going day 3, we already talked about this more or less, so we can skip. The Walker's Skulls game. This game kind of surprised me as well. I wasn't expecting the Walkers to just really give it to the Skulls.
The one thing I want to say is Kip Shaw striking out 3 times
Yeah,
against his former team. Oh, that was hilarious.
almost half the strikeouts.
Oh man, I mean, I think the Walkers are. We'll get into when we get into predictions.
Tumblr with 5 strikeouts herself.
Tumblr gained a lot as well.
Former Skull as well. Tamayo going against his former team and closing the book where Dante Smalls just got shellacked.
Like Robot brings up a good point where the Walkers benefit. I think and we'll talk about off-season winners, off-season losers later, but the Walkers, this is what you're seeing right here. And it's not, by the way, it's not just that they got talent in. It's legitimately that they got managers in because that was a squad. Libby Sickley was eligible for me to use a majors camp on because she didn't play last season and she's a season 1. Why is that happening? Like the Walkers were not a bad team by any capacity. I wish Pasta was here because I know Pasta wasn't happy that I was saying the Dragons were going to sweep them in the season. But like the Walkers are not a bad team. And I tried telling that like last season. It was just the lineup that they had set.
Yeah,
but
just someone to finally put pieces together.
To spend 5 minutes on the lineup and just put it together. Yeah. And I think we saw it here. Also, like, I just don't know what to think about the Skulls. I really have no idea what to think about the Skulls. This is a team that went 12-2 in the regular season, was a dominant team. There were very few moments where they looked mortal the entirety of season 5, if we're being frank here. And they lost 11 players from their starting roster. There's 11 new players on that starting roster. And it's hard to figure out like if they're still good or if they're going to just be middle of the pack again.
Well, the sneaky thing is, like, they got rid of some of their old for some of young. Like, brought in people like Alicia Kim from the Moonshots, who was a rookie last season. They're bringing in a few people from, they have Brainstorm, who's season 4 out shows.
Morgan's is season 4, but they still have some old. I think my concern with the Skulls is their pitching. And if we look at the game and we look at, what happened, Dante Smalls got lit up for 7 earned runs.
That's
when Dante Smalls is getting lit up like that, and Dante Smalls is the Dante Smalls that we know of, what does that say about everybody else in your bullpen?
Right, yeah. The pitching, I agree, is like the biggest drop off for this team, and it's going to be interesting to see if, the changes they made on the offensive side of things can keep up with the pitching changes.
Yeah, and we can talk more about it in predictions, but those are just some thoughts about it. I mean, got to hand to the Walkers. They got a really good showing. It was nice to see that. It's nice. It's like, as rivals, it's nice to see your rival doing well. It means that your games matter all that much more.
We go to Moonshot Cyclones. This was basically the one good game we'll get from what's his name? Kyle Edwards. He'll suck the rest of the season. This was a largely spring training roster for the Moonshots, and they still beat the Cyclones, who this will probably be their. Oh no, he actually submitted a roster. So
yeah. Doctor was actually active in terms of.
I haven't compared and contrasted what that roster looks like, but I imagine a good majority of these players will probably be there.
There are very few changes. If you look at, I think I can actually name the change because I was going through this earlier today when I was making all the changes. Perkins will come in where Hugh George is. That's the one big change, if I remember correctly.
Hugh George on the Cyclones again.
Yeah, so it's not even again if you want.
What I do want to talk about with this game is Sawamura, 6.2 innings, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, against a very, Doug Kelly and Jet County as like the leadoffs, and like, yes, like I know the Cyclones aren't like a good measuring stick team, right? But Sawamura dealt with like a lot of really good power hitters, and did well in Big Sky as well. Did well.
Now that you mention it, Sawamura is another one, kind of like that Cam Iconic out where they have almost no junk and they did really well.
And this is something that like I've talked with Josh about before, where it's like, don't underestimate the power of velocity and accuracy compared to junk. Like, junk is good to get the strikeouts, but at a certain point, velocity and accuracy really carry a lot. Almost like how contact and speed carry a lot in terms of getting runners on base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you can still blow them by him. You can either make them miss or you could just blow up by him. Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a solid point. And then the last game of the week, ball players come back from behind to beat Retrievers 6-4.
Five-burger. Oh my gosh, that was a ridiculous inning.
I didn't get to watch this game. I had it on the background. Wow, that was a 5-burger. Doesn't bode well, I guess.
Well, I mean, this is I don't know. We can actually check their lineup. Dropkin was not even on the roster
Right. Oh
for it.
yeah.
So
But for the longer games, if Dropkin is pitched like 4 or 5 and is getting tired, like, who does that ball go to? Like, Narwhal going to be up here with dartboard, or Narwhal going to be down, and they're going to rely on Racketeer, Hickman. I guess Tailwind was the starter last season. Things like that.
yeah, I think for the only way that um Narwhal should stay up is if she gets a pitch. She needs more than just that. Uh, she needs either a changeup or like a two seamer or something like that because he's only got a four seamer, a slider, and a forkball. She definitely like she's at 204 after stats progression,
Yeah,
so
and like
she
she
did.
didn't do bad at all. Like against what is honestly like this is something I'll get into later, but these aren't exactly bad players that the ball players put out here. Sheldon's good. Rick Stick is good. Kelly Homer Runs is decent. Gerald Davis. I mean, that exactly isn't like a you know awful tier team that she pitched 5 1/3 pretty solid innings against.
Ball players are always a team that like there are certain teams that you just identify with like offensive prowess. Like Moonshots are a team you always identify with offensive prowess. Honestly, besides last season, the Bombers, a team you always associate with offensive prowess, and the ball players are one of those teams for me where it's like you're not gonna you gotta outgun them. You're not gonna be able like have good defense, don't make mistakes, but like the ball players are always going to pull runs out of their butthole, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the ball players just always find a way to get runs. That's just like the way that their team composition is, the way that like Maniac like builds out his team, is like they've always got that ability to just put some runs on the board. So any type of pitcher that's able to have any type of success, like I think especially with spring training, it's hard to like draw comparisons for like the full season. Um, but Narwhal did absolutely well, I think. And I know Puppet was, talking about being a little upset about like the way some of the progression stats went, but I think there's one thing to be really excited about. It's Narwhal
Yeah.
and the progression that she got from it. She's now over 204.
Is there a way I can zoom in on Google?
Control plus.
There we go. So this is what Squared was talking about earlier. This was something I did last season this time, and I wanted to do it. So these were players taken in this draft that started. So there are more pitchers that played, but these are at least the ones that had started, drafted and started this season, and kind of see the results. I mean, Jake Carter was well on his way, but got hurt.
Yeah, absolutely massacred.
And I mean, a lot of decent numbers here. Like you've got two, one, two, three, 4 pitchers under a 2 ERA. Floston at a 2.8. I mean, you've got some good performances here.
And I think that speaks to the volume of like I was telling you, like this is a bit as much as last year was a pitcher's draft. Last year was a pitcher's draft because everybody needed pitching, and this is just going to be going forward. If you look at everyone's minor systems, people need pitching. Pitching is always going to be a need in this league. Like at any time in your organization, once we're done with the Risings, you will have 16 pitchers in your organization. You're gonna need pitching. And last season, there were like 3 top heavies, and then like it petered off hard. This season, Mabel Sparks was a clear number 1, and then Walker and DeVecchio, obviously, like even though they're in the 190s, had the traits for them. And
That made
then
up for it.
Tane, Khan, I think Burns was a little bit of a stretch at 12, but I mean the specialist really came in clutch.
I agree. Like I
But
think
Cade Six, like all of these pitchers did pretty phenomenally well, and that's because all of them are kind of not too far separated. Like from Ting to Carter, and if you eliminate Burns, because the only reason she's up here is because of the specialist trait, which kind of buffs her a little bit. there's only like what, maybe 20 pitching points separating these, if that.
Oh,
Like
yeah, I
the
don't even think
pitching
it's
was
that
very
much.
condensed this season.
And like Khan is like the biggest outlier of them all. Like she got taken to town in like 1 or 2 innings. Um, ended up giving up 5. Like Aggie's saying, it was the home run kind of messed up our Polo's Cologne, but you also have to consider Cologne was pitching in Tiger Den, so may get 1 or 2 of those home runs back if it's somewhere else, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think just in general, like with this pitching, is there are a lot of like, note these names down, because Mario Wrestles, Brock Hansen, Hannah Bradley, Jen Fury, those pitchers aren't going to be here in 2 seasons. In 2 seasons, if they're still in, they're going to be moved to like relief roles. And these are the names right here. Like, these are the future aces of the league right now. If we're being honest, like, these are the future number 1 or number 2 starters.
All right, so we get into predictions now, I guess.
Yeah, do we want to get into predictions that other people sent first? I didn't get any predictions, but I don't know if you
God.
Squared or you, Whitney, got any predictions.
I didn't.
I have predictions, but I was just gonna go division by division. To be honest, I don't think we can use a submission since certain people wanted to ruin it.
Well, I mean, let's before we talk about predictions, let's look at the power rankings just to see what everybody put. Just in terms, even if it's a meme, the link is, if you go to our chat, it's the under the, let me
Oh, this
by the way,
chat.
yeah. By the way, you did in fact leak the live stream key, so we're gonna have to change that.
Oh,
No worries.
sorry.
No.
Okay.
This we might need to do something besides poll junkie, because it's always been weird like that.
Anyway, I'm kind of surprised to see myself number 1. I honestly didn't put myself number 1. But I mean, it's obviously close. Like, very, very close. I mean, first to fourth there, separated by 8 tenths of a point.
And I think it kind of accurately reflects, I think, maybe some of the top dogs. I think Lumberjacks are again high for where they are, and not just from what we were talking about. And again, when we get into really hardcore predictions, we'll talk about it. But like, it is interesting that they're there. Although, if you know, Lumberjacks, Knights, Dragons, and even like Walkers down there, not separated by much. And I think that's kind of
that
a
was
good read. And Vikings, like, these that division is going to be tough. I already know it is going to be tough.
like that's honest. That was honestly the hardest thing I was having trying to do my own power ranking. Like, the clump of Dragons, Vikings, Knights, Lumberjacks, Retrievers. Like, I just feel like those are teams that are all really good in their own way, and like it's just going to be battles. Like, you're talking about sweeps, but like, jokingly, like someone's going to sweep someone who sweeps someone who sweeps someone, but just like, I just see like every game being a battle, and just trying to get a split is like a victory. It's really tough. Someone is just going to end up getting the hot hand, or the right bounce, and it's going to end up coming out of, I think, both divisions in the Epic. I mean, the Hero. Honestly, like, it's just tight. I feel like I think, like you were saying, I think the Walkers now with like active management could very well compete. I love the pitching. Like, I think Kip Shaw is going to help out a lot. Like, I don't immediately write them off by any means.
I think, yeah. So like, if we want to go like by division, let's talk about the heroic legends. I obviously think like obviously biased Dragons. I thought we were top 3 in the league last year. Started out 6-0 and then proceeded to go 1-8 to end the season and missed out on postseason. The biggest choke maybe in the history of the league. But we built upon what we had last season and made it even better. Pitching was a big concern for us last season. Got that pulled in. So I mean, honestly, when I'm looking at this division, I'm looking at it's what's the matchups on a day in day out, and also like what are the injuries going to be like? Because that will have a significant impact. I think for myself being the Dragons, I know that we have got depth. Lumberjacks, I'm not sure that they have the depth. Walkers, I'm not sure that they have the depth. Vikings and Knights are pretty good there. So like look out for that. Like not necessarily saying that the Dragons are better than all the other teams, but like there is a clear. I think of all these teams in terms of the odd one out, you have to go with Lumberjacks, not because they're bad, but because one bad injury and it's going to completely screw up their entire system.
And one of the things that Pandora and I kind of like to look at that I think is kind of, something that isn't thought of right off the bat, but it's also like how the schedule falls. Like, how many aces are you facing? Like, how does your schedule fall? Are you facing a lot of aces or twos? Or are you on the back end of people where you're facing threes and fours? And, I'm facing a lot of aces this season, so that's going to be rougher. In inclusion to the division I'm in, like it's just going to be brutal. Like a lot of this stuff is just going to be who scores last, who makes the error that allows the game to be won, kind of.
Yeah, the Legends. It's gonna be. I think it's probably gonna be the closest division out of all 4 of these divisions. Like all 5 of those teams easily can make the playoffs. All 5 of them.
Well, the Dragons won't because we're cursed, but it's nice to be included in the conversation.
But getting right into it, if you want to do like who I think out of those 5, I think Walker's coming 5th, Knights 4th, Lumberjacks 3rd, Vikings, Dragons win division. That's just me going down the list. Walkers, yes, they have bolstered their team very, very much. I still don't think it's enough. I still don't think I'm worried about the pitching. Their hitting is fine now. Dallas, Texas, it's time for you to get up on your high horse. It's time for you to come out and be the, I think, number 3 or number 4 overall pick from season 4. But I worry about the pitching past Sasso and Jeff Hurls. What do you guys think?
I won't do rankings for the Legends. I'll do like who is it? It's not Kirk Herbst. I think it's Kirk Herbst. Like whenever like they're doing College Game Day, it's a game that he's like abstain, but basically like talk about keys to the game is like because he's gonna be calling it, so he doesn't want to do it. So like now, like here's what I'll say about this division: it's gonna come down to 2 things. I personally think it's gonna come down to 2 things. One, it's gonna come down to injuries. 2, it's gonna come down to the interconference schedule or the intra-conference schedule rather. So the 5 games that you have against the Icons last season, the Gauchos were obviously 1-13, but like, and we'll talk about heroic icons. I think Moodshots and Retrievers are far and above the others there. You have to get wins against wrong fielders, overdrafts, Gauchos, in my opinion, if you want to win the heroic legends. Because anything can happen in that divisional play. The thing that's going to be a separator is what do you do in those intra-conference matchups? Because I feel like that is what's going to dictate a lot of the separation because it's not going to be much. But especially if you're taking games off of everyone and everyone's taking games off of everyone, that's the one difference. So do you show up against these teams that are there? Because we saw the Romfeelers pull some upsets last season, Overdrafts obviously made their way into the postseason after sort of being down and out. So that's sort of like my keys. I don't know what, Whitney, your predictions are for Heroic Legends.
Neither do I. I'm trying to think. I think the best team is it's tough. I think the best team in this division will probably end up being the Lumberjacks. But I do agree, like, if an injury happens, it could hurt them with their minors being pretty thin. But, they've got Jefferson Steelflex, they've got Cecil B. Heimerdinger, got Gina Stan, I think that's her name, and Saw Dude. They've got a really good pitching rotation. They've got some arms in the bullpen. We'll see if Lucio Ball can bounce back after a rough spring training. But I think this goes the Lumberjacks' way in the division. Number 2. I think goes Dragons. I think Dragons are probably the next best situated team finish in this division. Then I probably say Walkers. I think with management now, like they can put the pieces together and there's going to be activity and there's going to be trial and error, whereas was set and forgotten last season. And then honestly, I'll go Vikings the Knights. Like the Knights made the playoffs last season, but someone said it, I forget who it was, but the Knights are trending in the wrong direction. They go from Super Series, winning the Super Series, then losing in the Epic Finals the next year, losing in the
division, and then losing out the wild card.
And so, like, that next step happens where they don't even make the playoffs. Like, I like them getting Hatman. I think that's a good pickup for them. But, I just, the pitching in Toe Jam is hot and cold. Noelle Newman is now in her 6th season. She's an original player. She was an original wrong fielder. Shep Franks is actually back in the bullpen now, so we'll see if that transitions him better to where, like, back in season 3, he was like a god. But just the Knights just haven't made a lot of moves that I think benefit for where they are. I mean, their offense is still amazing. Their offense is probably one of the better offenses in this league. They're just like, everyone is capable of just smashing the ball, but kind of the opposite of some other teams where they have a hard time preventing the other team from scoring. I mean, don't get me wrong, Toe Jam can have his good days as well as some of these other pitchers, but I think it's more likely to go the opposite direction.
I guess that sort of leads into heroic icons, and I'll be honest, out of all the divisions, I feel like I know this one the best in terms of what's going to happen.
I agree.
This is so as you're seeing it right now on the screen, that's how it's going to end.
Wait, I have a difference. I think it's going to be Moonshots, Retrievers, Overdrafts, Gauchos, then Wrong Fielders. I think the Gauchos actually do have some decent talent with them. I'm not confident in the Wrong Fielders pitching.
I think I agree with Isaac. I think Gauchos jump Wrong Fielders.
And I think that Gauchos and Wrong Fielders are teams on the outside looking in. Overdrafts, I feel like, can compete with whoever is the 3 potential. Like, here's the thing: if the Overdrafts want to make postseason, they're gonna have to, like, so much like we talked about intra conference before,
or
like
submit a lineup.
Overdrafts, like, they're gonna have to win some games against the Heroic Legends player teams if they want to make postseason, because it is. I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, Moonshots and Retrievers are going to season 6 postseason. I never felt more confident about something in my entire life. Like I feel more confident about it than the Dragons making postseason last season, and we saw how that turned out. But
Yeah, but I mean, I could easily see most of. I think you're going to see 4 teams coming out of the heroic conference, and for me, I only see the Moonshots and Retrievers coming out of the Icons.
I agree.
well, the thing is that the only here's the thing: the only way that the Retrievers, if the Moonshots finish first, the only way the Retrievers don't make it out of heroic icons is if every single team in the heroic legends makes it out. That's the only way that the Retrievers don't make it out.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't see that happening. Not if they're all competing against each other in the heroic legends and taking games off of each other. I think the Retrievers are going to make it as a benefit of the. Not that the Retrievers are bad, by the way. But I just think the Moonshots and Retrievers are clear far and above the Overdrafts. I think the Overdrafts are middle of the pack, trending in the wrong direction, given the
They just haven't
amount of
done
activity. Given the amount of activity, so.
They just haven't done anything. Like it's the same team. It's obviously not working. They barely made it into the playoffs last year. Nothing's happening. I just can't see it. I can't see it.
And honestly, their best prospect, they left all of their minors camps on the table, their major camps on the table. Like points could have been given into like honestly, who was the best player in the minor leagues last year in Mookie Astaire?
Was he?
He was. I say he was. Like he.
I thought Kennedy was.
Okay, maybe it was a.
Regardless, the fact of the matter is that like as
Like,
he's saying,
one
like,
of the
there are minor
top-
camp and major camps that aren't being used on these players, so they're not even getting better.
One of the top players in the minors last season. He hit like an insane amount of home runs. Like he had like a 500-600 batting average, I want to say, and like he desperately needs speed. Like he's an outfielder with I think like 30 speed. And, that could have been an easy solution right there. And a way to easily get better, replace Bush League and, instantly have a better player in center field or somewhere in the outfield. And they missed their opportunity. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, like what Squared was saying. This, like, I think both of you were saying, this is literally the same Overdrafts team, like copy and paste. Like, I wouldn't be surprised with, the aging because these are all fairly old players. If they drop, if the Gauchos could even better compete against the Overdrafts and beat them. Like, it depends on, what Large Marge wants to do in that given situation. If he wants to call up his minors team and just purposely lose that game. But, like, I feel like a Gauchos could take on the Overdrafts and easily beat them.
One thing that Pandora's bringing up about the Gauchos is their pitching. Here's the thing: Cade 6, as of right now, Large Marge made the decision to move Cade 6 down into the minors before the stats came out. I don't know if Cade 6 is going to stay in the minors, but if he comes up, they've got an ace in Juana Cosmo and Steve Stevens also at 239. Like, it's obviously up there. They've got Gigi Nori and Slump, so 215, 209, and then it's their bullpen that needs work. So Ben Long obviously is a 200 long reliever, and then 150, 150, 176. So K6 coming up there will definitely help.
What is 6 at right now, just pitching wise?
6 is at 72, 52, 95, 219 overall pitching.
And that's with progression?
That's with progression because he did gain about 24 points of progression. I think I honestly think it might have been more than that. Let me pull up how many he got. Cade 6 gained from progression, from stats progression.
Or something?
$28. He gained 28. He literally went from 191 to where he is now.
Okay, I think I have the Phenom sorted out pretty
Yeah, well, I don't have an opinion on this yet, so y'all can go first because you guys know the Epic more than me, so I'll go last on Epic.
I think
conference.
the Phenom probably go Wildcats, Bombers, High Rollers, Angels, Unicorn.
Only switch I'd make to that is Bombers and High Rollers.
Think High Rollers finish above me?
Yes, I think they improved their pitching just a tad, and their offense got even better with Blind Ollie, and they were already good. So, and then also max range is even better. I mean, like I said, like I told you before the cast, I can't really gauge you because you can go 11-3 or you can go 7-7, 8-6. Like it depends. But for right now, off the top, if I had to make a quick decision, I probably have the High Rollers second. But I kind of want to touch on the Angels. Is this the final year?
Probably.
Is this the final year? Because Angels, another team, I feel like haven't really done anything to move that line. You know what I mean? Like, really haven't done anything. Like, it's been the same for the last 2 seasons. Make the playoffs, get bounced in a wild card, you know? And yeah,
I,
Pandora,
I,
horrific draft.
and I like I obviously want to say like what Wigan has going on, you know. Obviously like he auto set his lineup for spring training and also kind of had like a somewhat put together idea for his draft, not really extensive. One thing I was talking about with Aggie is we were talking about this earlier is the idea of power creep. So like one thing that I'm kind of concerned about right now is that I feel like the draft is slowly getting more and more stacked. And this is before we have fully figured out aging. And so it helps the parity of the league. Like there's a reason why a different team has won the Super Series every single season. And I feel like this season is the same. Like I don't think the Skulls are going to repeat. Maybe Serpents could win again. I'd say of all the teams that have won a Super Series before, the team that has the best opportunity is the Serpents. I would say, but other than that, I think we're going to have a new Super Series champion this year, and that's just because of how close teams can be now, you know. But the issue is that if you aren't getting new talent in right now, with this power creep happening, with these new players are really, really good, you are missing out. And not only is it the meme, but it's just like at a certain point that unless like you're getting more and more people to submit more and more females, like there are good females each draft, but like you guys are saying, like I just don't know if it's sustainable. I mean, look at their specifically look at their batting that they have right now, and it's just it's not anything that's going to compete with the Epic, which I feel like is one of the most hard hitting gun shooting conferences. I feel like a lot of the Epic teams are built on just absolutely blasting past you, you know?
Yeah, like you need to be able to, get into a shootout. Like expect to get into a shootout every once in a while. And, looking at the Angels, I just don't think they have the guns necessary to win in that kind of situation if it got to like shootout, like putting up 10, 12 runs a game in a game.
Yeah. For me, I think because y'all have already given, I think Wildcats. I'm gonna go with High Rollers and then Bombers, and this just because, like Whitney, your team is so different from last season
Oh yeah.
that I have no idea. I think that the Bombers and High Rollers at like 2 and 3 is a flip flop, and then Angels and Unicorns. I don't think Angels make postseason.
Oh well, they're not trying to. Like Elder literally said, I think yesterday. Like
No, Angels. I don't think
Oh.
Angels make postseason.
No, that's a hot take.
No. Look at the Unicorns in terms of pitching rankings. Elder knows exactly what he is doing. He has Mabel Sparks and Renault, and like there is not a single pitcher above 173 in his majors. The Unicorns are the worst team in the league this season.
Like he is.
But yeah, I'll do.
Go over.
I'll do hot take. I don't think Angels make it this season. I don't. I think they're on the outside looking in.
For the last couple seasons, for me, they've like I said, they haven't moved the line. They'll make the playoffs and then get easily bounced out in the wild card. Like they're not never are they a team where people talked about them like, man, I'm kind of scared of the Angels. No, they're never like that because once you get past Gen Fury, they're a very vulnerable team. Like the hitting, Sophie, great. Mic drop, great. And then after that, it's like Buchanan, Martinelli. But it's just, I think it's time for the Angels, for the meme of just women on the team. It needs to die because it's just hurting your team at this point.
There aren't just females who are angels, males can be angels too.
It needs to die. It's not. It was cool for like the first 4 seasons, but now it's just hurting your team at this point.
I don't know if you guys ever realized this, but technically it did die
Because of the
Bernie
IL
Raspberry.
pickup.
Bernie Raspberry, but he never actually played in the game, so like it's like 50-50. But yeah, that
So I mean, and then just moving on, Unicorns, rough season. Have fun. I know how it is.
but we're gonna know what the measuring stick between Bombers, Wildcats, and High Rollers are because I have Wildcats and High Rollers literally the first 2 days of the season.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, we're still trying to figure out casting. I think I'm gonna end up casting day 1 probably. That is.
No, I'm not doing Tuesday, so
You're what?
I'm not doing Tuesday.
Yeah, so I guess you're also playing Wednesday, aren't you?
Am I playing? I thought I was playing Tuesday.
You're playing Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh, then I have to do Monday.
We'll have to talk about it. But yeah, like start off High Rollers at Bombers. I mean, what a pogger way to start the season. What's the last game of the season? The last game of the season is Knights Walkers. Ooh, that's gonna be an interesting matchup. But do we want to talk about Epic Novas?
Last game of the season, we always flex anyway, depending on what the like playoff implications. I think, what was it last year, Whitney? What did we do last year? What did we flex? I think it was Dragons. We flexed it.
Shoot.
Yeah, I think Dragons got flexed because it was Dragons Retrievers.
Yeah, I think you got flexed to the final game of the season.
That way I could lose in prime time.
Yeah, because we always do flex. Like even the first day too, we flex the last game of the day.
Oh, dude, that day 1, man, those are all going to be. I mean, I know we still have to talk about Epic Novas, but yeah, let's talk about Epic Novas and then we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's what.
We'll talk about the week 1 matchups, but in terms of Epic Novas, I'm gonna go. I do think the Serpents are the best team in the Epic Novas.
I have the ball players.
I think it's Serpents, ball players, Skulls, Stingers, Cyclones. And I think Stingers and Skulls could switch.
I have just the difference I have is ball players, Serpents, and then Skulls, Stingers, Cyclones.
Yeah, I'd probably put Cyclones in the basement, Stingers at 4, maybe ball players at 3, Skulls 2, Serpents. I think the ball players could be sneaky good and maybe steal a couple and could finish higher. It just depends, we still need to see some of these players, play over. Still, I'm not completely sold on the Serpents.
In terms of the Serpents, I have Wildcats and High Rollers above them, even the Bombers too. I don't know, like the Serpents.
Guys, I know, but really look at the Serpents.
No, it's a good team. It's just, I don't know. It's pretty much the same.
Like,
it's the bullpen's better, but again, in Pandora, I'm gonna go on what Pandora said. Half of the conference was tanking. Now you have maybe 1 or 2 teams tanking now against last year 4.
Well, who's on the outside looking in right now in the Epic? You've got Angels who are going to be on the outside looking in. I think Unicorns, Cyclones. So yeah, Stingers. So I still think again the Serpents will still make it in.
But there's not a lot of placemats anymore. Like the Bombers are competitive, Stingers are better. Cyclones are still have potential. They still have Jet County, great pitching. Like,
the Cyclones beat the Skulls. They were one of the losses last year. They smoked them like 10-2 that one game.
Yeah.
like-
To be honest, I think Cyclones are bottom of Epic Novas, not because they don't have the talent, but because they don't have the consistent talent. I think like if you look at every single one of the games that they had last season, Cyclones were competing in like every single one.
I think they kicked my ass like 16-2 one game. Like,
yeah, that was one of the first games before we had like the big patch that really kind of toned things down a little bit.
Yeah, because the first like 2 weeks of last season was absolutely ridiculous, and then it toned everything down, which is now. But I think the only team that's basically a placemat at this point in this conference is the Unicorns.
Yeah, I agree.
The Bombers are no longer a placemat anymore. Stingers are actually like competitive because we actually have decent players now instead of just garbage at the top. It's only one placemat. Angels, yeah, we talked about how they're the same team, but they're still good.
And the placemat Bombers last season beat the Serpents.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure Stingers beat the Serpents too. Angels are on the way to the placemat. Probably 1 or 2 seasons left, but yes, they are on the way to the placemat. But
I mean, I think if you're not facing Gen Fury, they are a placemat.
hey, Pacifico Northwest still exists.
Well, is Pacifica Northwest going to be?
She was there last year.
She's on the way. She was really good.
Yeah, she was sneakily good. Like,
but at that point, you're going to run into the same issue that I had last season, which is last season I had Scottish, I had Hansen, I had Tumblo. I shipped off Tumblo because I didn't think I needed a third good pitcher. What I didn't realize is that I needed Tumblo, but I needed her as a long reliever, which is why I brought in Hannah Bradley this year, and Woody Scottish is now the long reliever.
See, that's my thing about the Serpents. Like on paper, they have the numbers, but actual game performance, you've seen it too many times. It doesn't quite live up to that. Like BB Strongman always struggles. Last Hard Cheese, I feel like every game he starts out really good and then absolutely drops off. Like that's why I don't believe in the Serpents all that much right now.
I think Walker's Pandora are on their way up. They're gonna need to get more picks for sure. Let's talk Magic Robot had earlier. Who do we think is the most underrated team? Let's do underrated, overrated. Let's start with overrated and then we'll do underrated. I think maybe we can let's do one for the Epic and one for the Heroic. I will agree that we can say that the Serpents are probably the most overrated in Epic.
Yeah, they went 6-8 against teams that were placemats, like we just said. And now, yes, I'm gonna say the Epic is probably because last year the Epic was very, very top heavy. Now I feel like it regressed back to the mean. Would you agree?
Yeah, I still think
you still have your great teams. Yes,
I think for the Epic though, it's still. You know what? It's the Cyclones can make things interesting. I think that the Epic is not in the same place it was last season, specifically because I think the Cyclones had a bit of bad luck.
Right. Yeah, they could easily flip the switch.
But they won the division at 7-7 in the chaos, which the Skulls basically fumbled away. Like the Cyclones have realistically, in their 2 years that they've been in the league, have realistically never been truly dominant. They went 7-7 in the first season, won the division by the skin of their teeth because the Skulls fumbled the bag, and then last year went 4-10, 3-11, something like that.
4-10.
Yeah, 4-10. So they realistically, you haven't had consistency from the Cyclones, even though on paper, yes, they're very, very, very good. They look very good, but they haven't had consistency. Skulls overrated? Yeah, dude. Honestly, Pandora, I don't know what the Skulls are again. Last year I said the same thing, or last season I said the same thing. This season, again, same thing. They look to me could not win 7 more, or they can win 9, and get into maybe get a home field advantage in a wild card. But Skulls, they're a coin flip to me. Coin flip.
What about overrated and Heroic?
Overrated and heroic.
I'll go
Walkers,
first to
Walkers.
break the ice. I think either Dragons or Lumberjacks. I think
Walkers or Lumberjacks. I think people are hyping up them getting Kip Shaw and all these old players a little bit too much.
Hmm.
And Lumberjacks, I just don't think they've done anything to like it. Like I said, everything was very, very tough. They had to grind for every win, and I don't know. It's just changes had to be made, and they weren't made. And yeah, Pandora Walker's no real young pipeline coming in.
well, that's the thing though, is that yes, there's no young players in, but we're talking about for this season, for season 6, with the rosters that they have.
Again, but yeah, you're hyping up. Oh, they got Kip Shaw. They got, but
Yes, they're old players, but they're still good right now. Like Kip Shaw right now is still
but does that make them
a
better?
408 is Kip Shaw is a 408 player.
I know, but that doesn't make them better. It doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't make them better than the Lumberjacks. Still, not the Vikings pitching, Dragons, Moonshots, Retrievers. There's 5 teams right there that they aren't better than. Maybe the Knights, because the Knights are basically the same thing. And also, you have to. And Kip Shaw doesn't have the protection.
Whip Shaw,
Oh,
Whip Shaw.
Josh is gonna love that. Kip Shaw is not gonna have. And will this take it? I'm actually gonna keep an eye on this. Will Kip Shaw do as well without the protection he had at the Skulls of Rock? Because he was surrounded by Brock Yellow and Denver Brainstorm, two of the best hitters in the league. Now he's surrounded by Dallas, Texas, and I don't even know what their lineup looks like. Dallas, Texas, and Eddie Ortiz, which, yes, fine hitters, but it's not Denver Brainstorm or Brock Yellow.
Okay, so then let's flip the script. What about underrated for both conferences?
Gauchos. I feel like Large March actually wanted to try and flip the switch. I feel like he could easily get a playoff spot.
I agree.
Yeah, I do think it's pretty clear cut. Gauchos are underrated. And then for Epic, I think Cyclones. I think Cyclones could be underrated. I think they had a lot of close games last season, and the Doctor was pretty active as of recent as well, which would change things in terms of the way that the team is organized.
I can't see they've had the same roster for the last 2 years, and they're putting a certain someone at long reliever.
Yeah, that was going to be my point.
I can't see it. Like I was saying, I haven't seen consistency. 7-7, barely won a division by the skin of their teeth. It was the Skulls to lose, and then 4-10 last year. I can't say that because it's the same roster for the last 3 seasons and haven't done anything. If I were to say underrated, I'd probably go ball players. Probably worse, but still a good team.
Yeah, I'd agree. Ball players. If you're talking bubble talk, like towards the end of the season, it was between Angels and ball players. I feel like I'm probably taking ball players because they have Northwest, who's kind of I get confused with Toe Jam all the time because they're very similar. He's hot and cold. Can't remember if Walker. You might have sent Walker down. Now
Who are you talking about?
Adrian Walker, who they pitched in spring training.
Which team?
For the ball players.
Ball players. Walker is currently up.
So if he's up, you still have people like Quash, Caesar Ensalada, and Hogwash.
Is Fizz Concerto still in or do they pick up a pitcher? They need to pick up a pitcher in free agency because that's a 135 pitcher.
Yeah, they could. But I feel like I think we can all agree this is a predominantly heavy offensive league. Offense is what wins this league. And I feel like I favor the ball players there over the Angels.
Oh yeah, I 100% favor ball players over Angels every single day of the week. Unless it's Gen Fury starting. If it's Gen Fury starting, I think Angels get the dub.
I mean, Jen Fury didn't look all that great against the Vikings. Right, honest. I mean, she did okay, but like, it wasn't exactly Jen Fury stats.
Yeah, well, look at
Like,
how much progression Jed Fury got.
like 9 points, but I mean, like 2 or 4 walks. That was quite a few walks. Like, and the strikeouts balanced it out, but I mean, like, it's kind of an performance from who the Angels need to rely on their ace versus a team that is not known for their offense.
Yeah, I think the one thing to keep in mind with the ball players specifically is like we talked about last season, like with how much capital they traded to get the team that they did, it was like boom or bust last season, right? Um, this season, I might even say the same where they they need to get they need honestly probably need to win this season. My concern for them long term is their pitching. How long is it? How many seasons is it going to take to get that pitching staff up to par with everyone else in the league? Because that's the thing is that if you aren't increasing your pitching in this league, if you aren't increasing the worst pitcher that you have in your rotation in your bullpen at any given time, you're losing out on the top. Like honestly, like at least there are 10 managers every single season that are actively trying to improve their pitching.
Yeah. Like, that was always my goal. Like, I needed to draft a couple of young pitchers. Like, I shot the one on Cass last season, but she was really the only pitcher I took, Mason Nuts, but he was never like going to be like a starter. But that was one of my main focuses this draft was to get a couple. So, most likely after this season, Kate Luna and Jose Leverage go riding off into the sunset.
Well, that's the same thing with me. Like, I would not have taken a pitcher last season if Danny California didn't fall in my lap at 21,
Mm-hmm.
which I think me and Whitney both had her going close to the top 10 or like top 15, but fell in my lap 21. It's like I'm almost dumb not to take her there. And then this season had 3 pitchers added to my roster. So on top of Robin Ryan, who is all 99s, by the way.
Jeez.
Well, Donut Boy, yes, because look what happened this season. There were multiple first basemen or batters that should have went into the draft, but they went undrafted.
Like,
And to be on, like, here's where I fall on it is like again, like it's not that those batters aren't good and that you could use those batters. It's just the fact that like
It's just need.
for most of us, our teams are old. Like they're like unless you are a season 4 expansion side, unless you are those 4 teams that expanded in season 4, you need to be actively thinking about how you're going to be replacing your pitchers because in the best of times, unless you trade your picks, you can at most get 3 solid pitchers a season, if that. And so if you think like, okay, well, it takes 3 seasons then to get a starting rotate, like to get a full majors of pitchers, right? 3-3-3. At that point, the people that you added in season 4, the next season, they're now going to start trending downwards. So pitching is something that like in the future, depending on how many seasons we keep this up, pitching is going to be a constant struggle if you're not ahead of the curve now. And like, yes, you can always trade assets, right? You can always trade assets to get the aces, but look at what the aces go for. Maybe supply and demand that changes, but it takes a lot of capital to get a good pitcher.
I mean, yeah, that's why you saw that number 1 pick being so valuable this season. I mean, the best pitcher well, realize that was a no-brainer.
The traits made it interesting, but still, that was like 40 points of difference, and it was just clearly like even without the traits, you can't pass up on Maple Sparks.
Um,
Other than that,
is there? Yeah, I was gonna say like anything else. I feel like we've covered most of it.
Everybody in chat, is there anything that you wanted us to talk about, sort of like closing up here? Oh, draft review.
Oh, draft
That's
review.
that's a lot of time to get through. I think we can do like a general overall.
Angels fucked up. Next.
So like,
Yeah.
so like maybe who had the best draft? Something. Where's things? So it's too big. Please.
Lasers, I wouldn't say that. Wigan drafted.
I
I
think
thought it was just going off the top 10. I thought it was interesting that I really thought the pitching would start like at 4 or 5, but really one pitcher was only taking the first 5 picks, and then all of a sudden pitcher.
yeah, that was one thing that surprised me. I'm surprised we only had one pitcher in the top 5. But then we did go pitcher heavy there. I mean, I think it's fair to say Unicorns probably had the best draft. I mean, okay, Mabel Sparks maybe gave up 10 hits, but still, like, overall, she is going to be the face of that franchise going forward.
Excuse me, Jose Odor exists.
Okay, will be the pitching face of the franchise going forward. And just they got a lot of value. Like they got the pitchers that they desperately needed. Like that they haven't had a pitching staff in their entire history. Even the year they won like 10 games, like they did it off of like magic and pixie dust. But like 1, 2, 3, 4 pitchers. I mean, that's half your staff, and they already have 3 great pitchers in the minors in Betty Golden, Valet Renro, and what's the last one named? Aubrey Hendricks.
But yeah, it's a great start for them.
Who would you say like came in second in this draft?
Well, okay, it's hard to say because Gauchos had a lot of picks and they traded it out and they got a lot for it. But if you want to just go off picks in this draft, gotta say Wildcats did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean Bash Sluggington is going to be a god, honestly.
Bart's Polo Cologne, not
I
bad.
mean, Bart Polo Cologne had a rough outing. I imagine he'll bounce back from that. That's not going to define him. And getting Sandy Bash down here is pretty solid. Like, they take the Skulls, I think, to Game 5 in the conference finals, and they add someone like Bash Sluggington. That's honestly why I think they're just probably going to end up winning the conference, honestly.
Yeah.
I have a chip on my shoulder against the Gauchos because they ruined my night because of that right there. Like, absolutely soiled me in one fell swoop. But, they did get value. I mean, Cade 6, apart from...
Bro, I'm telling you, even if they didn't trade that pick, I'm telling you they were taking him anyway.
I think in terms of not necessarily the best draft, but the best whoever set up their franchise for the future, Granted, this is always going to go to a team that has a lot of picks, but I really think the Unicorns did a lot to prep themselves for the future. I know that there's talk about like who they should have picked at certain picks, but considering where that franchise was, this draft did wonders for them. I also think if you scroll down to round 3, the Walker's picks were phenomenal.
Yeah, Miranda Biscuit right here is really great value. She was in the top 10 or 15 overall, I think. The only real knock on her was, I think, her power. Her power's in like the 30s or 40s, but she's a solid all-around player. Getting her down here is fantastic value.
I think like for this draft of Unicorns, it was basically what it did for their franchise. It was basically what last draft, the draft before this, did for the Bombers and Stingers. Like we both had a lot of picks and we both took players that realistically bolstered our roster and were going to make us good in 2-3 seasons. So I think this is the draft for Unicorns that, bolstered our rosters again, or bolstered their roster again. And 2-3 seasons, they could be a real threat.
Elder,
They-
just in time, we're schmoozing you.
Yeah, they're deep in a rebuild, and it's just necessary. I do think like Gauchos, man, they had one of the best drafts, not because of the picks they made, but the way that they have set themselves up.
Is Totino's, is that Large March? I forget.
I think so.
Okay.
I haven't.
I have a legitimate question for you, Marge. Like, I'm legitimately curious. If that trade with the Moonshots didn't happen, you pick at 15 and 16. Who would you have picked? I'm genuinely curious. I was just wondering. I'm just curious.
He wants to know if you picked Bo Jackson or not at all, which I think you would have anyway. But I could be wrong. I really don't see anybody else but Bo Jackson to take at that point. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I know
Okay,
why Bo Jackson isn't
He
correct.
did take Billups at 21.
Fair enough. So I would have had to trade it up. All right.
Bojack Un in the reason why I call him Bojack Un is because there's no S on the end of the Jacks in the file, so we need to change that.
Yeah, I think I forgot what I actually submitted. And I'll probably continue to do that for the rest of his career. I'll either add the S on or not. I don't care either way.
Well, it's like when we did the Benjamin Botley. We've called him Benjamin for the longest time, and then
You guys called him Benjamin and didn't believe it when I told you it was Benjamin.
We called it Benjamin for the longest time, and Josh got pissed off.
I still think of the stupid name.
I literally told you in chat and you didn't believe me.
No, because it's a stupid name, even if it's a little kid who says it.
Anyway,
There's a hot take.
Anyway, going back to this, I'm gonna shit on the Angels a little bit more. You take Emily Prentice at 11 when you could have had Trey Flip-Flop, you could have had Lucy Freishak, you could have had Leela Burns, you could have had Athena Hex. There's Lexi Luthor. There are a bunch of players right there that are way better. So
and honestly, like this right here, like this should have been either what's her name, Penelope Garcia, or what's the other catcher's name? What's the other free agent catcher's name?
Penelope Garcia and are you talking about free agents? You've got Carlita Beltran.
Carlita Beltran. I feel like that should have been one of those two because I feel like what's her name? Woody. Alicia Woody. Alicia Woody is the catcher for the Angels right now, and she's just past her prime. She never really had a prime. I just feel like that this pick could have been a catcher, and that would have immediately been a boost to that Angels lineup.
Real quickly, I know that Aggie was bringing up trait rules. Still trying to get that solidified. Know that is actively being discussed in the league office when we are going to be doing it.
So,
and we will have an answer for you sooner rather than later.
So this window will open like from here going into like technically like right here, and then
At midnight on Sunday.
so like like going into when it becomes Sunday.
Yes, and
So like
if what we discussed until 11 a.m., you can submit a lineup of players that you want to have picked,
so like
and yeah,
theoretically we could have like the roll or here or here.
I'm saying Saturday. I'm saying just go ahead and do the trait rolls on
Heck,
Saturday.
we could just like, do we want to just like move rigged and we could do it live on rigged or something, like either do it here or move rigged there and we just
Doesn't
Well,
have to be,
no,
no, it has
that's
to be this Saturday
it has to be this Saturday
before the season starts.
for trait rolls because the season starts on Monday, bub.
it's not possible. So are
This next season starts on March 8th.
Yeah, I know. Like, are we like this window can't? So we're saying it opens and then literally closes right here.
No. Trait rolls.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the window.
No. What we would say is we would tell everybody if all would go to plan, we would tell everybody tomorrow at a certain time submit the players that you want for trait rolls, and we would do it on Saturday. So they
like
have
this, like
2
the
days.
13th.
Yes, not the 13th, the 7th. So they would have 2 days to submit someone that they wanted to trait roll.
Okay. Sure.
Let's be real. The players that actually want to do trait rolls are going to submit it within 24 hours anyways. Because they've been waiting to submit.
All right. Anything else from crowd? Well, I can't read chat. My Twitch thing crashed.
No, everyone's good. It is 12:30 over here in the Eastern time, so we did a 2-hour rate. I think we were pretty concise, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully these can become a more normal. Well, I don't know. These might need to move to weekends where they're not going into like literally midnight or something.
I mean, I personally don't care with it being up late, but it depends on what you guys do, and depends on what.
We'll post it in a poll and see what people prefer, because I know we're in various time zones and it's various times right now and whatnot. I know I'm going to be busy like this for a good couple more weeks.
Aggie, if you're talking about like to give minors points to someone, as in season 6 minors points, the soonest you would be able to do that would be week 8 regular season, because the minors will start week 3 of the regular season, and you can't use your first camp until 5 weeks in the minors. I mean, you can bring up a player whenever you want, but they have to spend at least 5 weeks in the minors before they get that first minors camp. Cool.
All right, I think that's going to do it. Thank you all for coming around and kicking off this rig season with a bang. Like he said, Monday is the start of the regular season, and we will see you all there. Good night, everyone.
Night, guys.